Alright, check out my new distributed setup here. This separates me from the EMI or EMF that comes from this transformer here, and just separates me from the dangerous parts, especially. We have our 30 volt variable source coming in. We have a new kind of MOSFET switch here. VIC matrix switcher now extended with the help of this 20 pin Molex type connection. Everything wired up pretty much the same. We have this new breakout board for a snubber that is basically looped from the negative of the primary, goes through what would be a resistor here, and then a diode which feeds back into the positive, so it loops back or snubs that back EMF. I want to show you something here specifically to that here. Right now we have no resistor on that snubber at all. So on that primary there's no resistor. It's just literally a diode going back into the positive, recycling that energy. We are currently pulsing at 3.3 kilohertz. We've got a duty pulse of 36%, as you can see here represented by the yellow. And when we turn this on, you'll see that the pulse is created during that off period. And you can see we get a small waveform there, and that's maxing out 30 volts, 5 amps. Only 0.1 amp, so 1 milliamp, 2 milliamps going across the cell. I had to turn that on real quick. We've got only 64 volts, a measly 64 volts spanning across the cells. You can see just barely any production being made. And I'm going to show you here, well, I'll switch that off, the difference when we start adding resistance to this snubber. I do notice without that snubber, this MOSFET does get warm. I've added a 2 ohm resistor here to the snubber. I moved my fan up there just to help cool that. This guy's probably going to get pretty piping hot though. Alright, 2 ohm snubber. Look at our waveform here, a bit larger than last time. This is maxed out, 28 volts, a little less amperage. Higher voltage, we've got 123 volts across these cells. Look at those babies go. Okay, interesting. Alright, I've now replaced that snubber with a 10 ohm resistor. Turning on, you'll see that we have possibly even higher voltage potential, maybe a little bit, 128, 126 or so, slightly larger. Cells are producing, still the same frequency, duty cycle, all that. You'll see just at that 1, 2, 3rd line up there. Alright, now we swapped out for a 20 ohm resistor. Powering on here. Maxed 4.3, about the same voltage level. I do believe it was a slightly higher amperage this time, 200 as opposed to the 100 we normally get or below. Back to the 2 ohm. We're just below that second mark there. We're about 3 blocks up. 4.78. They're about 175 milliamps. Swap back the 10 ohm resistor. Here we go again. Hang on. A little less consumption, 4.5 amps. Still high voltage right there, as you can see. 125 cells producing appropriately. So, conclusion. We will have to do some post-analysis here, but the snubber certainly matters, because without the snubber we have very poor voltage across that cell. We have to have at least some kind of resistance on that snubber to make it work. I'm going to switch it back to the 2 real quick. 2's in place. A little bit higher consumption, 4.9. Not the same milliamperage. I believe that's just a little bit lower voltage. And we could try it with no snubber at all here and see if we can blow something up. This is no snubber whatsoever, disconnected. And we killed the MOSFET. And just like that, that's how we do that. Snubbers make a huge difference. In my case, somewhere between 2 and 10 ohms seems to be the sweet spot. We'll maybe investigate that further. Wanted to show you that. Get your snubber right.
This is Stan's Revenge.